So, moving from intentions, we'll talk about attitude change. So, attitude change is a really, really, really big deal in marketing, right? Because one of the things that we strive to do is change consumer attitudes. Two conditions must exist to allow for attitude change. One, the object of the attitude must no longer provide the satisfaction that it once did. And two, your attitudes can change when the consumer's aspirations change. So what I ended up doing for an example here is I put makeup on. So it could very well be that both of these women, both lovely women, decided that they want to use makeup because kind of what they look like without the makeup no longer provides the satisfaction that it once did. And it could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe they're tired of looking in the mirror and seeing kind of the same face, right? You look in the mirror, you always see this same face every time. Maybe they want to see something different. Maybe they wanted to glam up their appearance. Maybe they realized that a lot of people around them are wearing makeup, and so they've decided to wear makeup. Maybe they've decided that what they want to do is become an influencer and a blogger, and so their aspirations have changed, and so they've decided to wear makeup. One thing that I can absolutely say is that both of these women look amazing with makeup on. Um, I would argue one of the reasons I don't wear makeup is that, or much makeup, is that I don't really know how to put it on, where it would look anywhere near as good as these ladies. Although I will say one of my cousins is a makeup artist, and she did give me the false lashes once, and I have to say, I give nothing but respect to women who can wear false eyelashes. It is a weird feeling to have that weight on your eye. I had to take them off within like 5 minutes. It was, I don't know, but they do look amazing. So when I think about attitude change, one of the things that kind of comes up in my mind, because again, I typically study public policy and consumer well-being, are questions like how much or how do people feel about, what are people's attitudes toward the police? And I found this infographic and I thought this was pretty interesting. According to the Cato Institute, which is, a pretty popular place, 68% of Caucasians feel a positive or favorable or have a favorable opinion of the police. 40% for African Americans, 59% for Hispanics, and all other Americans 64. There are things, of course, that stand out in this graph, and I'm sure there are a few things that stand out to you as well. One thing that's really interesting to me, though, is that as a person who studies consumer well-being and who studies public policy, you have to know that kind of the police are a necessary thing, right? We need some kind of order in society. You may disagree with that, but I'm just saying that in general, some way to kind of police or maintain order. It doesn't necessarily mean the police, but we need some way to maintain order. Um, but one thing that I think is really interesting, and I would not have predicted, is that I would have assumed that the all Americans and the Caucasians groups who were surveyed would have a more favorable opinion of the police. And to me, what this suggests is that we probably need to do more to kind of highlight a lot of the good things that policemen do, maybe at not only a national level, but at a local level as well. Because you have to wonder kind of, I know we've had issues with police, but if we are using police to maintain order, when this many people don't have favorable attitudes of the police, can be somewhat problematic for every group, right? For every group. And so it's something to kind of really think about if you study kind of attitude change. What did these attitudes look like 20 years ago? Have they improved? Have they kind of declined? So if you are in charge of police forces or that kind of thing, or you're a public policy person, these are questions that you'd want to ask yourself. So how do we change attitudes? Well, there are a variety of ways to do that, and so I'm going to talk about them. First is this idea of conditioning. One of the things that you can do is build up favorability or positive feelings by providing rewards, maybe positive music, maybe positive symbols. So one of the things I know that, for example, my sister did with my niece is, anytime she got herself up and got herself ready to go to school and kind of followed all the steps that she was supposed to. She got a sticker, and I think she was pretty excited about those stickers because after a certain number of stickers, she got a prize, right? So that's one way that you could think about building positive feelings towards, getting up and getting dressed and those kind of things. Now that I mentioned that, I probably need to do the same kind of reward system for myself to get myself out of bed. But think about it. You do. So one of the things that I do is that I reward myself in the morning with music that I like. And it just depends on the morning what I like. But conditioning would be simple, very symbolic of like Pavlov's dog, where, you train the dog where every time they hear the bell, that means that they get food. I'm sure you know this kind of psychological conditioning. But basically, as a marketer, you could do the same thing, right? One of the things you could do is, every time someone walked in your store, you gave them a discount. Every time you walked in the store, they gave you cookies or something like this. Think about what happens when you go to Sam's Club or Costco. Every time you walk in the store, almost, you can see some kind of free sample or get some free sample. You can create attitude change through influencing the feelings of consumers via advertising, right? So if you like the ad, there's a very good chance you'll like the product. Research has shown that. You could also do things like use well-liked celebrities to enhance people's feelings toward an ad, which in turn will or may change their attitude towards the product. There is a phenomenon that's actually really big deal called mere exposure, where research has shown that just exposure to an advertisement or some type of communication is enough to kind of lead to positive attitude change, right? So even though you aren't necessarily aware of it, right? So for example, if you go to a Walmart, one of the things you'll notice is that they have pictures up of movies. So when you walk in, you go through the little doors. On the side, they'll have pictures of movies. You might glance at those pictures, not pay attention to them at all. But then if you're at Walmart and you decide to get a movie, it turns out that those movies that you kind of glanced at when you walked in are more likely to be on your list of possible choices, right? Or as we call it in marketing, in your choice set, right? So maybe you're thinking about buying a Marvel film because when you walked in Walmart, there was an ad for Marvel at the front end and you just briefly glanced at it, right? There was this mere exposure. Again, that was enough to make that advertisement or that product favorable to you to the point where you're now considering buying it. Which is why Marvel and all these other companies pay to have those ads at the front of the building. You could also associate a product with a special group, an event, or a cause. Here you see Katy Perry with, what is this guy? Football. What's his name? Can't remember. He plays for the Texans, I believe. And they are advertising for a special cause. But if you look on the right, one of the things I wanted to point out is how much celebrities get paid to associate themselves with your product. Miranda Kerr, I think Kerr, I don't know. I don't really know this woman. She gets paid $25,000 to $50,000 to post something about a product, right? Kim Kardashian is getting $200,000 per post to advertise a product, to connect herself with a product so that she's associated with that product. Again, if we're changing people's attitude using feelings, like we're trying to get people to have certain feelings about an ad or a product, and we're associating them with a special group, event, or cause, one of the things we might want to do is associate our product or our cause or whatever it is, our market offering, with Selena Gomez, who, when I looked, made about $550,000 per post. If we have big money, we can associate our product or service or marketing offering with Beyonce, who is supposed to be the highest paid, and she gets about $1 million per post. $1 million per post. I'm telling you, and I mean, I hate to be the one to break it to you. I hate to be the one to break this to you, but I think we've all chosen the wrong job. I think I could start posting something on any one of these social media sites and nobody will give me any money. But, whatever. I'm not bitter. I mean, this is just kind of what people do. So, we have the ABCs of attitudes, right? We can change people's attitude by changing their affect or their feelings, which we talked about in these last few slides. The actual B for changing attitudes or B in attitudes is beliefs, right? So we could also make an attempt to change someone's beliefs. So how do we do that? Well, one of the things that we can do is change the basic motivational functions of attitudes. If you recall in our last lecture, I talked about this idea that there are 4 functions of attitudes. If we make an attempt to change one of those functions, we should see some level of attitude change, right? So the first function is the utilitarian function. How useful is the product to us? So if we want to, one of the things that we can do as marketers is we can do everything we can to make people think that our product or our service is very useful to them, right? Very useful to them. So you could think about Amazon Prime. I'll use Amazon Prime as an example here. So Amazon Prime, one of the things they do is they show you, or they'll put on the screen when you go to Amazon, how many purchases you've made thus far. So they'll say something like, oh, you've made 3 purchases this year, and you saved yourself X number of dollars on shipping, or you made 3 purchases, and that's 3 times you don't have to go to a physical store. Again, they're doing something to change the usefulness of Amazon Prime in your mind, the utility of it, which makes sense because we're at the point now where people are trying to figure out what services they want to pay for. Do you want to be a person who pays for Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, and all of these kind of services, or do you need to kind of cut services? So Amazon is trying to make itself appear more useful by doing that. Another company we could think of that really focuses on this is Arm & Hammer baking soda. So I love Arm & Hammer baking soda. I think it's such a great example because one of the things that they make an attempt to do is show you that you can use baking soda for more than just baking, right? So if you use baking soda, you can use it for cleaning, you can use it for cooking, you can use it for a variety of things. And Arm & Hammer has created an entire kind of marketing campaign to show you that it's very useful to you. Another basic motivational function is the ego defense function. So one of the things that you want to do is show people how the product will make you feel more secure and confident, right? So one of the things you could do, if you're, let's say, a makeup company, you could show ads or promotions or these kind of things to show people that wearing makeup or wearing your specific type of makeup will make them feel more secure and more confident. Maybe a woman who puts on red lipstick feels more secure and more confident, and so you build a campaign around that. Maybe a man feels more confident if he's using something like Axe body spray, right? Because it makes him feel more secure and more confident in his appearance and his ability to attract a mate. You could also do things like show people how smart they are, right? So if I'm teaching a class, one of the things I can do, rather than say, hey, you got X number of questions wrong on this, I could say, let me congratulate you for getting X number of questions right, right? So one of the things I try to do in class is when I kind of related to this is when I ask questions, I try to ask questions so that you can feel kind of secure and confident in your answer. Even if I don't necessarily always agree with your answer, I think it's important that people have the opportunity to kind of speak their piece. But I also think as a faculty member, it's my responsibility to kind of challenge people's ideas to a certain extent. Again, if we're influencing beliefs to change people's attitudes, we could use the basic motivational function. So the third basic motivational function is this idea of value expressive, where you have certain attitudes because they allow you to express your values. And so maybe one of the things that happened, we had a big Chick-fil-A blow up, which Some people said, hey, I'm going to shop at Chick-fil-A. I'm going to make a concerted effort to go to Chick-fil-A, and I'm going to have a positive attitude about Chick-fil-A because Chick-fil-A reflects my values. The exact same opposite could have happened, right? Some people could have said, I no longer shop at Chick-fil-A because Chick-fil-A no longer represents or reflects my values. Last but not least, the knowledge function. You could change people's basic motivational function of knowledge by satisfying their need to know and helping them understand. So how do you do that? I'll give myself as an example again. I think people are a little bit more secure in kind of their knowledge when I provide a study guide for the exam. So typically in a class for 2.5 hours, I talk about lectures and slides, but I make a concerted effort when it's time for the test to use about 20, maybe 25 slides per lecture, because I want people to be able to focus on certain things, and I want them to be able to pull those slides out and feel pretty good about what they need to know, as well as have the opportunity to ask me questions if they have questions for the test. So again, I'm trying to address this need to know. What do I need to know function? So I talked about Chick-fil-A. If you remember, Chick-fil-A had the huge blow up when people found out that they were supporting Focus on the Family. We've seen other companies do something similar, maybe an opposite group, but similar. So we've seen Allstate come out and Absolute Vodka and Oreo cookies. A host of companies have come out with these themes that support LGBTQ consumers. Why do they do this? Why do they let people know that this is what they value, or why do people, or why are these ads doing this? We could argue that because people's opinions about, let's say, gay marriage or homosexuality or things like this are changing, some companies want to make sure that people know that they align with these beliefs. Some companies, this is going to be some cynical, I should say this up front, some companies actually do kind of have these beliefs, like this is what they started out believing and they've always believed it and they want to let you know. Others, however, may just say, hey, these people are in our target market, we should market to them. And if they do that, it's not really as problematic in the sense that they do that for a lot of groups, right? So you'll notice that if you go to BET, Black Entertainment Television, a lot of the ads will feature Black actors and Black actresses. You'll notice that in other groups too. You have these specific things that you do to target certain groups. Again, that doesn't mean that showing that you support these groups doesn't affect other consumers. So some consumers may say, oh, I see this Oreo ad, I'm never going to buy Oreos again. They may boycott because these ads help the companies express their kind of support, but consumers can decide whether or not that this is something that they value as well. Do I value these ideas, and if I do, does that make me want to buy Absolute Vodka or does it not, right? And it could work either way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You could also do something like put organic labels on products or natural labels on products to let people know that the product itself is organic or natural. This could help consumers both with a value expressive function and a knowledge function, in the sense that there are certain consumers who absolutely value knowing that their product is organic or that it doesn't have artificial enhancements and these kind of things. There are so some consumers value the ability to buy those products because it helps them express their values. There are some consumers who value these kind of things because they like the knowledge. So they like being able to know that where the product came, what kind of enhancements were put in the product, antibiotics, these kind of things. One thing that's really been interesting when you think about organic is that a lot of companies have come out and said that their product is organic, even though it's not. I kill me with these fancy slides. How do I make these slides? I don't even remember. I remember. Okay, so I'd like you to take a think break because I am 100% sure that I'm going to have a question or two on kind of this idea of changing the functions of attitudes for a product or a service. So I want you to think about a product or service that you think expresses one of these four categories that might be able to kind of change attitudes, right? So maybe using baking soda and giving additional demonstrations on how you use it changes the utilitarian function. Can you think of other companies that make an attempt to kind of change attitudes by changing the function of a product itself, right? So you could say something. I used Axe body spray. Now we see Dove Men Care, where they do that to kind of help men feel like they have more self-esteem or increase their self-esteem. Who else does this? Oh, I've seen some ads lately that talk about dating and finances, as in, a guy or woman who has their financial house in order is a more attractive date. And so they're trying to do things to kind of help people know that other people have their financial life in order, that kind of thing. So I want you to think about what this could look like. So take a minute and do that.